5 years ago, we started putting a small amount of money into a savings scheme through work, just £100 a month. Fast forward to today, and that money has turned into just over £33,000, giving us a profit of about £20,000. The problem now is we need to decide what to do with about £12,500 that we have left. So should we overpay the mortgage, boost our pensions, or just keep it in cash? And I would really like your thoughts because we might be missing something obvious. So first, let me quickly explain what this scheme actually is. I've mentioned several times on previous videos that we have some share options. These are from what's called a save as you earn scheme. So you save a bit each month out of your pay packet over several years, and in return you have the option to buy the shares at a price that was locked in when you started the scheme. This option is just that. If the price of the shares when the scheme matures is lower than your option price, then you can have your money returned and so have not lost out other than a small bit of interest that you could have been earning in the meantime. However, in our case, we have been very fortunate and the price of the shares has more than doubled from the option price. When we started the Save As You Earn scheme, we put in a very modest amount of £100 a month. This was over a saving period of 5 years. Then, 2 years later, the share price had fallen a bit. I thought, that looks like a bargain. So we put in an additional £200 a month into a 3-year scheme. It was all that we could afford at the time, and it really stretched our finances. Now, in hindsight, maybe we shouldn't have had both schemes maturing at the same time, as this has created a slight problem, but it's very minor and it's really insignificant compared to the gains made. So over this period of years, we've invested a total of £13,200 into the schemes. Now it's maturing. It's valued at just over £33,000. So that's a profit of around £20,000. Now, honestly, if anyone has the opportunity to participate in a company ShareSave scheme, then I would highly recommend you give it a serious thought. As clearly as we have shown, there is potentially decent money to be made in this saving hack. We have already realized part of the gains as we have taken the option to purchase the shares on one of the schemes and are waiting to the start of the next financial year to purchase the next lot of shares through the second ShareSave option. This £20,000 gain is already factored into our monthly retirement tracker updates. We've been adjusting the net position each month depending on the latest share price. That's why some months the savings went up quite substantially and other months it dropped a bit. Indeed, some of it has already been spent. When I say spent, what we did was we shuffled the spare money we had from our stoozing account, and we put a sizable lump sum contribution into our SIPPs back in autumn of last year. What we have left is about £12,500 that we need to put somewhere. So this is our thoughts of what to do with it, and I would really appreciate your input if we've missed something obvious. So we recently renewed our mortgage with another 5-year fixed deal. We'll be switching over at the end of this month, and unfortunately it's slightly more than our last 5-year fixed deal. That was an incredible 1.41%. This time we'll be paying 3.95% interest, which is still a good figure considering the way the mortgage rates have been going up in the last couple of weeks since the start of the conflict in the Middle East. So our plan is to make an overpayment on the mortgage of £6,000. Now, I know we can get slightly higher interest rates than 3.95% in a savings account, but there's something about paying back money owed on a mortgage that makes it feel better than the headline interest rate. What do you think? Should we retain this in a savings account and only overpay if interest rates drop? Or would you value peace of mind with less mortgage debt and a reduction in our expenses by around £40 a month? The next portion we want to spend the money on is topping up Carenza's SIPP. It's currently a little bit lower than mine, so we plan to make a one-off additional contribution of £4,000 into her SIPP. This would have the added benefit of giving us an extra £1,000 of tax relief and help even out the pension pots between Carenza and myself. Even if we ended up paying a little tax when we draw down the funds in retirement, which could easily happen with a little bit of growth, even with that, then I feel this is a worthwhile investment as it helps balance our pots between us. And then any minor differences can be dealt with using the married tax allowance transfer. Again, do you think this one-off pension contribution is a good idea? What are your thoughts on it? Third on the list is the final part of the windfall, the remaining £2,500. Our plans for this is simply to keep it in a cash ISA as an emergency fund, earning interest until we decide if there's a better use for it or in case any large bills come in. Now, I appreciate a figure of only £2,500 is not a true emergency fund. From what I could remember people talking about, sort of having set aside enough funds to cover 6 to 9 months of expenses. So this wouldn't cover that. But I feel that as both of us have a decent continuous time with our current workplaces, then I feel comfortable with holding a figure as small as this. What are your thoughts on this final portion? Is it too small? Should we be sticking it in a stocks and share ISA instead of a cash ISA? And what are your overall thoughts on the 3 spending ideas? Should we instead have one lump sum of £12,500 invested somewhere? And if so, should it be a cash ISA or invested in, say, a tracker fund in a stocks and share ISA? If you have not already subscribed, then please consider doing so to follow our journey, as it would really help us, as we're not that far away from that magic 1,000 subscriber level. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.